Hello everyone, Crystal Hewitt joining you today from Speaking of Wildlife in Ontario, Canada. Our mission is to provide permanent sanctuary to non-releasable Ontario wildlife. Many of our animal residents have been injured, orphaned, abandoned, or illegally kept as pets and cannot be returned to the wild where they belong. These animals will live out the rest of their lives with us here at Speaking of Wildlife, where we provide not only their essential needs, such as veterinary care, balanced diet, and enrichment, but also specialized care for their specific individual needs and abilities. Now, these animals often have an opportunity to become ambassadors for their species and can teach people, audiences around the country even, about wildlife and some of their specific adaptations. We're going to do just that today in partnership with Bernafon and talking about hearing in wildlife and in nature. And we're going to do so with the help of some of our wild friends. So let's get started. So let's start off with Maverick, the gray wolf. Maverick joined us from a wolf center that specializes in education and research. He was born in captivity, but unfortunately his pack was experiencing a bit of a hierarchy shift or a disturbance, which resulted in the pups' lives being at risk. They made the decision to remove some of the pups and transfer them to facilities like ours to ensure their survival. Maverick was hand-raised by our staff, and as you can see when he comes close to the fence, he's quite comfortable with us. He believes that I am his mom or his alpha female. Now, by looking at Maverick, the things that stand out first are probably that long snout and those big ears. The snout is for smelling, of course, their strongest sense, but those big ears are all the better to hear you with. They are their second strongest sense. These guys have amazing abilities to hear small sounds from far away, as well as rotating their ears to hear those sounds even better. They can hear even better than we can. Now, of course, they're going to use this in hunting some of their favorite foods like rabbits or deer, moose even, but they're also going to use it in communication. Howling is a main form of communication in a wolf pack. They communicate not only their location, but also if they find something fun to eat or if somebody gets lost. Some research suggests that wolves can hear as far away as 10 kilometers in a forest or up to about 16 kilometers in open space. So we were thinking maybe we could demonstrate this by attempting a howl with Maverick. All right, so we've gone out just about 30 meters from the enclosure. I'm gonna attempt to howl and look a little silly for you, and we'll see if Maverick howls back to me. All right, ready? Oh! Good job, Maverick. Not quite 16 kilometers. Well, now we've got him singing. But as you can tell, he recognizes that howl and knows to howl back to indicate his location. Next up, we've got Ocellus the bobcat. Let's see if we can get him to come up and say hi. Of course, he ran away like a typical cat. In any case, Ocellus was actually born in captivity as part of the exotic pet industry. So this guy was actually removed from poor conditions and transferred to our facility, which is licensed and reputable and can give him a more natural environment to live in. Now, Ocellus is not only going to be an ambassador for wildcats in Ontario, but also for the dangers of keeping wild animals in our homes as pets. Now you can see here, Ocellus has some pretty interesting ears, and that's actually how he got his name. The white spots on the back of his ears are meant to look like eyes. Now those eyes would give the illusion that this guy, just like our mother, could see everything that's happening even behind his back. Those white spots are called ocellus, or ocelli if we're talking about more than one. So if we look up from those white spots, you'll actually see tufts on the top of his ears. The tufts are a characteristic of bobcats as well as their cousin, the lynx. There's a couple of ideas out there about what the tufts are for. One of them is to camouflage, and the other is actually to funnel sound into their ears. Now, not only are those tufts going to funnel sound, but those large external ears are going to do their part as well. So, of course, they're big and they're going to funnel the sound in so that they can hear it. They can also rotate those large external ears. So where we've got 3 muscles that can help us to wiggle our ears around, cats are actually believed to have 10 times that, up to 30 muscles in their external ears, so they can rotate it 180 degrees. That's going to help them to pinpoint the location of their prey or whatever it is that they'd like to hear. They're using their ability to pinpoint the location of the sound as well as one of the broadest hearing ranges among mammals. These guys have evolved to hear high frequencies without sacrificing low frequencies. Now, in the case of the bobcat, this could be something like a small rodent, it could be rabbits, it could be groundhogs, anything even up to the size of a young or ailing deer. Now, if we think back to that moment when I said that Ocellus was born into the exotic pet industry, think about keeping an animal like that is big enough to take a deer. I'd think twice, not a great idea. Next up, we've got Nile, the barred owl. Nile is with us after suffering eye, ear, and brain damage after colliding with a vehicle. As if that wasn't enough, he also tested positive for the West Nile virus. We're not sure which one of these things came first, but we know he's had a pretty rough go. After a miraculous recovery in rehab, Nile was sent down for final testing, and it was determined that he isn't quite right. So this means that, unfortunately, he doesn't have the skills he needs to survive in the wild, he wasn't able to hunt appropriately, and he's got an abnormally calm demeanor. So Nile is going to spend the rest of his days with us, teaching people about owls. Now, one of the coolest things about owls is certainly how they see and hear. So their ears, as you can tell, are not sticking out the side of their head. Instead, they're actually hidden under all of those feathers on the edge of what we would call his facial disc. So that flat face of his is kind of like a big satellite dish that attracts or catches all of the sounds coming in. The sounds bounce around inside that facial disc until they reach the ear that sound is closest to. That's going to let him know, just like he is right now, which direction that sound may have come from. Now, as he's demonstrating, he's going to move his head once he pinpoints which direction the sound is coming from, and he's going to use his eyes to find it. Once he finds that thing, or that animal that he might want to eat, he can swoop down out of the tree or off whatever he's perched on and silently sneak up on his prey. Now, not only is he sneaking up on his prey, but he's using his hearing while in flight. Because his wings are silent, he's not going to make any noise at all to muffle that sound. He's going to be able to watch or listen for the animal and know exactly where it's headed if it starts to move or continues to move. I guess maybe Nile found something over there that he was interested in eating. So maybe at this point we will wrap things up with Nile. But before we do, maybe we'll say goodbye to our audience now. Can you wave? In wrapping up today's program, we want to say a big thank you to Bernafon for supporting and providing a generous donation to Speaking of Wildlife. Everyone here at the center is dedicated to promoting and preserving the health and quality of life of all animals, including the ones you met today. Now, for us, it means that we get to work closely with these animals, provide sanctuary, and educate about them. So we get to see their amazing abilities every single day, and we are thrilled that Bernafon has also been inspired by these abilities and by these amazing adaptations in the development of Alpha. So thank you again, Bernafon, for having us, and if you want to check us out, find us at speakingofwildlife.ca. Thanks so much. Bye.